Navigating the dynamics of the Korean Peninsula requires more than just information, it demands insight. Korea Risk Group offers strategic consulting that cuts through the noise. Our experts provide in-depth analysis, risk assessments, and bespoke reports, all tailored to your specific needs. Whether you're exploring new opportunities or managing existing challenges, our insights can be your compass. To learn more about how we can help you make informed, strategic decisions, visit korearisk.com/solutions today. Hello listeners and welcome to the NK News Podcast. I'm your host, Jacko Zwirko, and today it is Tuesday, the 7th of October, 2025, and I'm joined via StreamYard by Colin Zwirko. Colin, welcome back on the show.
Hello, Jacko. How's it going?
Going just fine, thank you. We've got a couple of days to go, just 3 days to go really, before the October the 10th military parade to happen in Pyongyang. Remind us, what is October the 10th in North Korea? What does it stand for? What does it mean?
October 10th is the official founding anniversary of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea. So this is going to be the 80th anniversary this year.
Okay, and that's obviously a big number, 80, so they're pulling out all the stops, and North Korea has unveiled some kind of drone and has talked about South Korea being a military target.
Yes, they have kicked off the weapons celebration that they're planning. So they're going to do a military parade to celebrate October 10th. It's either going to take place it could take place a day before the holiday on Thursday evening with state media coming out on Friday, or basically one day later. So it could take place on Friday with state media coverage coming out on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And they kicked off the events with a weapons expo, actually, which is kind of like a spoiler for the anticipation from the parade. And one thing that we noticed in the background was a small, what's called an unmanned surface vehicle, which is basically a naval drone. And this looks like it's being displayed at the parade, even though state media has not highlighted it very much. So my suspicion is that it's going to be featured on truck trailers coming out during the parade, along with a bunch of other new weapons.
I know neither of us are military hardware experts, but what's the added value of having an unmanned surface vehicle?
Well, this is something that I guess they can use to try to infiltrate South Korean ports, naval ports, or industrial facilities. In wartime, that would mean being able to get off attacks more easily without being detected, which they couldn't do with a larger crewed vessel, maybe. So South Korea is going to have to respond to this and let the people know that they have the ability to detect and defend against smaller remote drones. But there's still a lot of unanswered questions. I mean, basically, we only saw this in one photo. People still have to be convinced of North Korea's capabilities.
Right.
North Korea has to be able. Same question with their aerial drones. They have to be able to have reliable communications with these drones in order to pilot them from far away, and that means satellite communications, which currently they don't have the capabilities by themselves, so they would have to be using perhaps Russian
Right, they have to
satellites,
borrow or rent bandwidth on somebody else's satellites.
or some other form of communication which is potentially susceptible to tampering by South Korea. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions on that front, but I think what we've learned over the past decade with North Korea's military parades and the teases that they do with their weapons is that they usually follow through with their intentions on building something, even if it comes out at a parade and starts looking like a concept model or something that's not fully developed yet. It is an announcement of their direction of their development.
So in a way, it's a bit like the motor vehicle shows where they would show a prototype model that isn't actually ready to be sold on the market yet, but this is what, this contains elements of what future vehicles may look like.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. I guess they don't exactly call it a concept usually, but we can infer that that's kind of what it is.
Right. Now, at the same time as showing this the photograph of this unmanned surface vehicle, Kim Jong Un suggested that South Korea could be a potential target for attacks due to the U.S. rock nuclear alliance.
Yeah, I mean, this is very consistent. North Korea has always threatened South Korea. I think that Kim, overall, taken together, Kim's speeches in the last couple of years, his main point is that he'll never stop developing nuclear weapons until no one in the world is developing nuclear weapons, I guess.
Hmm.
So this point to be taken is going to continue. He always wants to threaten that there's a possible chance of even a first strike against South Korea, like what he's called his second mission of his nuclear forces. He wants to deter any kind of action from South Korea, especially after learning what the former South Korean president was willing to do in terms of trying to provoke a conflict. That was Yoon Suk-yeol. And so these kinds of threats serve to as a deterrence. He wants them to serve as a deterrence against South Korean military actions against North Korea. But I don't think that there's any reason we should take these statements to mean that North Korea is preparing
Mm.
some kind of proactive attack to invade and take over the South. I think it's clear that he wants to keep his kingdom intact
Hmm.
and developing in his own way without interference. And so he has to deter against anyone who wants to disrupt that.
And this all happened against the backdrop of it's North Korea's annual defense exhibition. And I would encourage our listeners to go to an article by our colleague Juhon Kim called North Korea Unveils First Unmanned Surface Drone Ahead of October the 10th parade. Partly because, I mean, we've talked about some of the headliner items there, but what I really find interesting is the photograph in that story that shows Kim Jong Un seated on a sort of a lounge room type arrangement of couches and armchairs, talking to military officials in full uniform, surrounded by rocket launchers and things. And it looks like the set of a Western style television chat show. Like he's just kind of sitting around having a bit of a chat about weapons.
Yeah, I mean, so he's sitting around with his top weapons development guys. Actually, it was interesting because the guy seated closest to him on the couch,
Uh-huh.
he wasn't on the stage during Kim's speech that he
Oh.
delivered outside of the venue prior to entering. On stage were his top political and military development officials, but next to him on the couch was Ri Chang-ho, the one of the top commanders leading forces in Ukraine or in Russia against Ukraine.
Hmm. That's interesting.
Yeah, it means that he's there to look at the arsenal, what new developments there are, potentially it may be just as his role under the Reconnaissance General Bureau, or he might be the general staff. I'm sorry, but forgetting his exact title at the moment. But anyway, it might just be his role generally as a military commander, or it might be because North Korea wants to use some of these weapons in Russia or sell them to Russia. So I found that
Right.
pretty interesting. But yeah, the setting you mean, it's they've done these defense expos, I think since 2021, occasionally mostly at the Three Revolutions complex in northeast Pyongyang. And they're squeezing all these giant nuclear missiles into this exhibition room. The thing that I find frustrating is they still do a lot of blurring and obfuscation.
Ah,
If you're in that room, it's like you're gonna learn so much about North Korea's weapons
right.
development direction, but they're still blurring the names of most weapons.
Hmm.
I'm hoping they printed the name of a missile on a new short range missile with the hypersonic glide vehicle. They
Uh-huh.
printed the name of the missile for the first time on the missile, just like China does. If you watched their recent military parade, they just print the names of all the weapons on the weapons so you can
Right.
clearly know what they're called. So maybe North Korea
Helpful.
will do that at the coming up parade.
Yeah, and it's a big parade. As you said, it's 80th anniversary. We've got the leaders of Laos and top leader of Vietnam are going there. So it'll be interesting to see who's all up on the stage watching the events. Let's move on now to, well, it's still a related topic there, defense related. North Korea's got some naval news. You did a story recently about a corvette that sailed into dry dock. What's happening there?
Yeah, to set up the thing about the warships is also Kim Jong Un did visit one of the new destroyers
Right.
that they built. He visited that a couple days ago, and it was billed as being part of the weapons exhibition. So we might see more reports in state media this week of Kim and officials going around to various check out weapons that couldn't be squeezed into the expo room. Maybe we'll
Right.
see a submarine. I don't know. But so he took all like hundreds of officials to go look at the new destroyer. So North Korea built two destroyers in the last year and a half. They've launched them officially. Both of them are set to deploy next year on the East Coast.
Colin, just help me, my memory and that of the listeners there. What was the launch that failed? There was one where the ship kind of ended up almost capsizing. What was that? Was that a destroyer?
Yeah, so it was one of these destroyers. These are the largest warships that North Korea has built. They have larger ones that are much older, but one of them was built on the West Coast, and it's going to sail to the East Coast, according to North Korean state media, sometime before early next year,
Oh, around
which is
South Korea.
yeah, again something to watch for. It's going to be a very interesting time when that happens. But the other one was built on the East Coast in Cheongjin, and that one failed the side launch where they slide it off sideways off the
Uh-huh.
dock or off the pier, and
Right.
that halfway capsized. Then they fixed it up and launched it in June.
Ah.
But both of these ships are still undergoing a lot of changes,
Mm.
installations. Like launching the ship just means that they've finished the basic kind of structure, and that they're going to then work on it and train the crew before deploying. So deployment is going to happen next year. So
Right.
anyway, these 2 ships, I think bringing, like, hundreds of officials to go look around the ship is part of him trying to ensure more trust and belief in people that these are real projects with real capabilities. So if anyone around the country can watch this and they're maybe talking to their local party officials who's come back into town and has told everyone about their experience, there's gonna be a lot more belief that these are real and different from
Mm.
but they look much better than North Korea's naval developments in the past. Some questions still are what's gonna happen with their submarines, and these corvettes are smaller ships that they developed 4 of, over the last, like, 15 years, and they had a really long and troubled development process. None of them were officially launched. Only one of them featured in, like, an actual operation in state media, and these are still undergoing development. So I wrote a story that tracks where they've been, what they're
Ah.
doing. Only one of them is really looking like it's operating normally out in the sea near the East Coast inter-Korean border. But I think what we need to watch for in the next year is North Korea, like Kim Jong Un is claiming he wants a blue water navy. He says he wants to sail his ships across the oceans
Mm.
and have them go outside of US ports
Oh
and
boy.
something like show them what it feels like to have
Right.
foreign ships near you. And so he's being very threatening in that regard, like
Mm.
very detailed in what he's saying he's going to do. And one of the photos of him on the ship this week was a world map. They blurred it, but it looks like it's a world map with maybe U.S. naval bases all around the world. So
Ah.
we'll see.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Gosh. Okay. So North Korea, with its aspirations to have a blue water or blue ocean navy, let's see how that goes. Now, for our last story today, you've written a story that Kim Jong Un has been present at the opening of the big new hospital in Pyongyang that we've been talking about for goodness me, it feels like about 5 years now.
That's right. 5 years. The Pyongyang General Hospital officially opened yesterday
Uh-huh.
on October 6th. So it was in state media this morning. This hospital is located in what was a large open park in front of the monument to the Workers' Party along the Taedong River. So that's the one with the large hands holding what is it, paintbrush, sickle, and hammer?
Oh, the monument to the party founding, the
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
the hammer, the sickle, and the paintbrush, the writing brush.
Right. So they built it starting in 2020. They built most of the actual structure in 2020. And then he said in March 2020 that it needed to open by October 2020, which
Right.
didn't happen. State media started to ignore it. It wasn't really showing up much in state media, basically abandoned the project in some sense because Kim didn't really talk about it anymore. Started to talk about it again in early 2024, said it should open in 2024. It didn't. So last month, he went to the hospital, said that it was delayed due to corruption from local officials trying to make schemes during the construction, basically
Mm.
admitting that he lost control, wasn't really keeping tabs on the project,
Right.
admitted that. and he opened it today. And in his speech today was really interesting. He said that the Ministry of Public Health is totally worthless. He said that they have no idea what
Wow.
they're doing, that you cannot trust them to do anything going forward in the future. So
Oh.
he's implying that he's going to disband them
Mm.
and replace them. And it's all about him just blaming everyone else, making himself look like he is on top of things, and
Right.
that he's promising to build another general hospital in Pyongyang. He's promising to build over 200 hospitals around the country in the next 10 years. And he wants people to believe that there's going to be a quote revolution and a reform in the health sector. So he says, this is a whole country for the people, right? But we can't
Yeah.
even provide healthcare for the people. He's admitting this. So I think he wants people to believe that, oh, he's for real. We can trust him because he's admitting things we all see with our own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And this time it's going to be different. So it will
Yeah.
remains to be seen, but he's promised a lot in terms of health sector. He's called it a gift for the people, but
Mm-hmm.
it's implying that it will be free healthcare for anyone at all who enters those doors.
Wow.
But the truth is yet unknown.
Well, and I would encourage our listeners to go online and have a look at the story that you've just published fresh this morning, called "Kim Jong Un Demands Major Health Sector Reform at Pyongyang Hospital Opening," because the photos there from the North Korean state media, from the Royal Shinmun, it's a very inside, it's a very gleaming building. I mean, if you were standing here inside this Pyongyang General Hospital, you might as well be in, I don't know, Yonsei Severance Hospital. It's got that kind of a look to it. From the outside, the photographs, it's got two towers that are both well over 10 stories tall, connected by a sky bridge. It's quite impressive, wouldn't you say, Colin? Just the structure of it. I mean, I don't know what how well equipped it is on the inside.
Yeah, it's we know that it was built using mostly like how they build everything in North Korea, which is they make concrete bricks by hand on site,
Mm.
and then they pile them up and mortar them over and make gigantic buildings using that. But they did use some steel, which they don't usually really use for most buildings. They
Mm.
did use some steel for the bridge that connects the towers.
Ah, yes.
I would say basically this is not up to international construction standards, but
Hmm.
it's, buildings aren't collapsing or anything in North Korea, and there's a lot of
Right.
buildings made out of concrete
Yep.
in South Korea as well. So the interior quality looks great. They know how to cover up the concrete bricks,
Yeah.
and they've imported all of their medical equipment from abroad.
Right.
I have big questions. I'm planning to write something about the hospital bed factory linked that's basically run by one of the top weapons manufacturing groups in the
Mm.
country. They claim to have this hospital bed factory that Kim Jong Un is very attentive to. He visited it just last year again, but they have no no domestic hospital beds in this new hospital that they've had 5 years to build. So
Oh.
there's some real questions. Kim did criticize the the medical manufacturing industry capacity in his speech yesterday. So it's either that they have no capacity and all of his factories that he's paid a lot of attention to over the years are still lying to him and still failing to do anything, or still failing to receive any support or ability to run like a company would in another country under a different economy. But yeah, it was imported everything from China, some European equipment like X-ray machines from Siemens, stuff like that. But
Mm.
yeah, it would be a good place to go. I'm sure he says that the staff still has a lot to learn to get up to international standards in terms of a general hospital, but promising a lot in terms of it actually living up to a Yonsei severance standards
Right.
in the coming years.
Okay. Well, that's where we'll leave it for today. Thank you very much, Colin Zwirko, for walking us through these stories, and can't wait to see the parade.
Yeah, so watch out for that. Either Friday morning Korean time, so that would be like Thursday night US time, or Saturday morning Korea time, Friday night US time for coverage of the parade.
That's right. We'll be having live coverage, well, a live event if you're a subscriber. So watch out for your email box for details. Thank you, Colin. See you again soon.
Thank you, Jacko.
Looking to stay informed about South Korea's fast evolving political, business and cultural landscape? Join us on Korea Pro, the go-to resource for in-depth analysis expertly curated by top-tier professionals. And now you can pick the membership level that best suits your needs, thanks to our new subscription packages. Starting at just $199 annually, you can access daily analysis and our weekly podcast. Or try our premium membership package, which offers additional perks such as executive briefings, monthly reports and forecasts, networking receptions and event opportunities, as well as much, much more. To find the best fit for you, just head to signup.koreapro.org and become a member today.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our podcast episode for today. Our thanks go to Brian Betts and Alana Hill for facilitating this episode, and to our post-recording producer genius Gabby Magnuson, who cuts out all the extraneous noises, awkward silences, bodily functions, and fixes the audio levels. Thank you, and listen again next time.